Okay, what's up? I'm Johan. I'm playing Diplomacy for the first time in my life, um, and I thought it would be fun to like react to it while it's happening. I got this idea, unfortunately, after one turn has already passed. But I'm gonna go through the game from the perspective of my country, my thoughts, things I was hoping for during the game, and how my country analyzes the board state on every turn. Um, so, yeah, I'm playing with some friends, some people I've played Civilization with, other strategy games with, but also one guy at least I don't think I've ever played with, and a few people I haven't played with in a while. So it's going to be interesting to see um, how it goes. We are playing anonymously, so nobody knows who each other are. That's why I can only obviously release this video. Not only because I don't want to reveal my thoughts and plans before the game is over, but also because it would ruin a bit of the game if I revealed who was playing my country before that. Yeah. Anyway, so I got the country of Italy. This is the board state when the game begins. If you played Diplomacy before, you know that. I had not. I think it's worth mentioning a little bit about me. I have seen a few YouTube videos of people analyzing Diplomacy games, so I have an idea about how it's played, but I've never actually heard the rules from like ground up, so I don't really know like a lot of the specifics. I obviously don't know the meta, and there's a lot of like unit movements and unit interactions I wouldn't actually know how would work. So a lot of what I say might just be ignorant because it is. But you know, that's the baggage I'm playing with. As far as I know, most of the other people here don't have a lot of Diplomacy experience either. Some of them have probably played it once or twice, but I don't think anybody's played it a lot. So, well, I got Italy. I was not happy with that when I saw that, because I saw Italy, again, as somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, as a tough country. Italy starts with 3 armies, like basically everybody else, or 3 units, I guess, 1 navy and 2 armies. But it feels like the sort of country that would want 2 navies, because Italy has only one guaranteed supply center. I think that's what it's called, like centers. These are what you want. Every country starts with 3 except for Russia, who starts with 4. They have one in Sevastopol, Warsaw, Moscow, and what's called St. Petersburg. You can see I have one in Naples, Rome, and Venice, and that's also where our units start. But if you want more units, we want to capture more of these supply centers, which might, for the first 2 turns, happen relatively peacefully, but it's quite quickly gonna require us attacking other players. Italy has Tunis, which is somewhere they can get in 2 turns. They can move their fleet from Naples into their own Ionian, or I don't know what this actually is for sea, the TYS, sure, and then later into Tunis, which is fine, but they won't be able to get to any other supply center before anybody else. They can't get to Spain or Portugal before France. They can't get to Greece before Turkey or Austria. And that means, as Italy, I did not know where I was gonna expand into. So I was worried about that. I did not know who I was gonna attack. I was also worried in general, because as somebody who hasn't played the game a lot, I feel like if Russia and Turkey becomes friends, the game might just be over already. My logic being that they have this corner of the map. They don't have to worry about a backside. They don't really have to worry about a north side or south side either, meaning that they could just put their entire army on the front line and just continue to walk west, killing all of us at some point, until hopefully they turn on each other. But that might not happen before they get to me. So that was my number 1 worry. I did not have any plans in specific, but I was planning on trying to make sure Russia and Turkey did not ally, and if they did ally, enough people would be against them that it was possible for us to stop them. With that in mind, I started my opening messages being polite to everybody, but in particular, I really wanted to be friends with Austria and France. And that might seem like a silly thing to do, because these are my two neighbors, meaning that how one might naively play this game, which might also be correct, by the way, keep in mind, I don't know what I'm doing, but how I would naively play this game is that, well, I would talk to Russia, be like, hey, we can both benefit by splitting up Austria, so let's both attack Austria, and we get half each, and that'd be good. And then I'd talk to Great Britain or something, and simultaneously be like, hey, we could both attack France, we could probably win, and we could split them up between us. Wouldn't that be nice? But I've made that impossible for myself by having my main two neighbors as allies. But to me, it made sense, because I was gonna need Austria to be relatively strong in case Turkey and Russia allied. If they allied, I was never gonna be able to hold them off with only Germany. As soon as they've taken Austria, it would be game over. So I was gonna need Austria to hold off Russia, maybe hold off Turkey a little bit, and I could hold them off down here. And then hopefully Germany and Britain would hold off Russia over here, and maybe there would still be something to do. So I felt I had no choice but to ally Austria, sorry. And because I felt like I had to focus on the east in case that was what was happening, I also felt like I should ally France in the sense that we just stay out of each other's way. Because that sounds good for both of us. So I started off by writing to France. The specific order of my first messages between players does matter. I basically send the first message to every player at the same time. But my first message to France was, hey France, I think actually they might have written to me first. I would like to look through the chat logs, but I don't want to reveal them in case people would be unhappy to, have me reveal what they wrote in private. I'm still gonna describe what they said, obviously. I think that is fair, but I'm not gonna show it. So I quickly just moved my shit over to the other screen so that I can look through the chat logs. This game we're looking at right now, by the way, is another game. That's not our game, but our game already shows the moves of the turn 1 orders, and I feel like I want to talk a bit before I show the moves from turn 1. So France wrote to me and was like, hey, I'd like to know what is your ambitions in the Western Mediterranean. I see no reason for us to be in conflict. And I said, yeah, I agree. We should have an agreement that none of us go into Piedmont and I won't sail anywhere to the Western Mediterranean. That obviously means that I'm gonna get Tunis and they are gonna get Spain and Portugal, which should favor them. I was okay with that because I felt like there was no reasonable way I could demand either Spain or Portugal. But it does mean that France is in a stronger position than I am, because they are going to get Spain and Portugal uncontested. They're going to have a safe border with me and this entire corner of the map, and they might even get something like Belgium. So they might have 6 supply centers by the first time we get to build new units, which would be dangerous. But I thought it was worth it because I did not see how I could realistically focus on the East at all if I was unfriendly with France. So I thought this was something I just had to do. And honestly, I was fine with it. I was then, however, writing to both France, England and Germany, not really to be like, hey, let's focus on France together, but I just wanted to maintain friendly relations with them such that they were aware that if they went against France, I was not gonna mind. And I also did not want Germany to go into Tyrol, which would also ruin everything. I don't know if that's something Germany ever does in games, but I felt like if they also just focus on France, that's fine. So I wrote to both of these powers. England never responded to me. which was unfortunate. It didn't really matter. Again, it wasn't like I was going to coordinate everything, but it did give me the impression that it's going to make future diplomacy harder, and I might need their help in the future. Germany did not write in a way that I found very comforting. They wrote very, very short messages. They were not really interested in role-playing at all. They were basically just like, hey, what are you gonna do? Without telling me what they were gonna do. And that meant that I was not too interested in working with Germany. But that's fine, right? I don't really know how we could have worked with each other anyway in the beginning, because I was not gonna attack France, as I've already said, and I was also not gonna attack Austria, because as I also mentioned, I wanted to be friends with them. Well, how did that go? Well, I'm gonna say pretty well. Me and Austria seem to have been relatively friendly from the beginning. I also wrote the longest message to them that was basically like, hey, I understand that we are right next to each other. We are the only two powers who actually have centers next to each other, which means that, you know, we might seem like obvious enemies, but I am terrified of Russia and Turkey, which is true. I told them that, and that to stop that, we need to cooperate. And they seemed to basically agree, and they were happy to actually have like a plan. Yeah. Anything specific to mention? Yeah, I basically agreed with them. They're like, hey, I am gonna go against Turkey because I'm worried about Russia and Turkey, and I cannot obviously attack Russia. That's impossible for me to do, but I can attack Turkey. I am hoping to gain something from that. I'm hoping that after we kill Turkey, I am two centers richer at least from the Balkans and Anatolia region, and they seem to be fine with that. Which, yeah, that makes sense. It wasn't an unreasonable ask from my position. Just be like, hey, I'm gonna focus on Turkey, but yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure I get something. Now, what exact centers I was gonna get was impossible to say, because it really depends on like where we are gonna be able to push. But just having the idea that we go against Turkey and we divide up the land somehow was exactly what I wanted, which was great. My messages to Turkey, whom I also wrote to an opening message, but by the time they replied, I already knew that I was gonna attack them, because I basically talked with every other power except for Britain, who never talked to me. I've come to this agreement with France and Austria. That meant that I could not go against either of them, and then the only sensible direction to move my troops was against Turkey. So when Turkey replied, I already knew I was going to attack them. But I obviously did not see any reason to say that to them. And my messages to them were basically, hey, I'm worried about Russia. If they manage to take you, they just control the entire east of the map and they can just go west, and that would be bad. I don't know if that's something that Russia could realistically do. I actually don't think it's something that's easy for them to do, but that did not matter. There was a decent chance that Turkey was a new player who did not know that, or maybe that I was just wrong and actually it was a valid thing to be worried about. So I was like, hey Turkey, I'm worried that Russia might take you. For that reason, I was not saying like, hey, please go attack Russia. That I don't think that would have worked. But I was hoping that I at least planted the idea of that Russia might be interested in attacking you, which hopefully gave them their own idea to watch out for that, or maybe even move against Russia first. Turkey reasonably asked, hey, what is your plans yourself? And I said, well, I'm gonna go to Tunis, and then from there we'll have to see how the board goes. That is at best half true. I was gonna start by taking Tunis, yes, but I knew I was gonna take Turkey. I was gonna go against Turkey. But saying that half truth almost was fine to me. I then also basically gave the idea that I'm hoping to get like a supply hub from the Balkans somewhere, which obviously Turkey wouldn't want, but it would, but at least it would seem like realistic, because why would I say that? Why would I say something they obviously wouldn't be super happy with? Unless like that was my goal. And I did that because I was gonna have to explain my opening moves at some point probably. Because my opening moves were the Rome army to Apu, which I don't know what is, and my Naples navy to the Ionian Sea. I'm doing this because I am aware of something called the Lepanto, which is a opener for Italy, where they build, they do what I did here, this army to Apu and Naples to Ionian, and the next turn they move their Ionian navy to the Eastern Med. No, sorry. Then after the first turn they moved their convoy, their Apu unit to Tunis, and their navy still is in Ionian Med. Then they built a navy in Naples, and then they moved their first navy to Eastern Med, and then new navy to the Ionian, and then they ferry the Tunis army all the way to Anatolia somewhere. Maybe Syria, maybe Smyrna, who knows. I knew that was a strategy that is not bad, because it's at least been used a good amount. Yeah, so since I knew I was going to do that, I was hoping to keep that a secret towards Turkey for as long as possible. Because when I move my army to Apu and my Naples army to the Ionian Sea, they might be like, that seems like he's trying to attack me. But if I can somehow claim a little bit of ignorance that, hey, I just thought that maybe I could get Greece, then they wouldn't be as scared of me, which would be good for me. And that would also make it more likely that they went against Russia, which was what I wanted. Lastly, I want to quickly talk to what I talked to Russia about, which was, hey, do you guys, friendly relations, blah, blah, blah. Russia were like, hey, I open up by being like, hey, I think while I have no enemies right now, I think we can both agree on who we would not want to become too strong. Basically, like, if Austria took me, that would be bad for you, because they would become too strong to attack into. And likewise, if Turkey took you, I would be in trouble because I would not be able to attack Turkey. That was what I wrote to them. And that seems to have made some sense, which I hoped it would. Because I wanted to have friendly relations with Russia, because if Russia had friendly relations with me, then they might not feel the need to ally up with Turkey. Yeah. I also just wanted to mention the possibility of Turkey attacking them, in case that would mean that they would move against Turkey first. Maybe because they thought I said that because I've heard it from somewhere. Who knows? They mentioned the fact that they are cooperating with France. They've had productive talks with France. That surprised me a little bit, because I was thinking they were very far away from each other. Obviously, they both border Germany, but still, that was surprising to me. When I heard that, I got a little bit scared, because if the three of us worked together, sure, we could probably check the rest of the lobby, assuming they weren't all working together as well. But what I saw was realistic was that we killed maybe Germany and Austria, and then I would be here, France would be big and powerful, Russia would be big and powerful, and I would be here in the middle. And there would be a great chance that they would just like, hey, let's divide up Italy. They were nice, but let's divide up Italy. So how was I gonna get around that? Well, no, I had no real plan. I was basically just like, yeah, that sounds good. I have good relations with France. I'm happy to have like a three-way talks. Russia was then like, okay, that's good. Do you wanna divide up Austria-Hungary? And to that, I had to say no. Because I had already decided that I'm working with Austria for this reason. I could not say for certain that Russia wasn't working with Turkey still. So I had to be like, well, I can't agree to divide up Austria-Hungary, because if they're working together, they can just kill me. So instead I said, no, I can't do that. I'd rather work together on killing Germany or work together on killing Turkey. This is because if we both work together to kill Turkey, then one, obviously Russia and Turkey is not working together, which was like my main thing. But secondly, I would still feel like that Russia could not like betray me with France at that point, because Austria would still be powerful enough in here to make any move against me difficult. So attacking Turkey with Russia would have been way better. Russia basically said, I don't know if I can do that, but you know, let's just do our things and let's talk again next time. Hope for the best. And well, I guess the way I said that might have sounded like negotiations broke off, but that's not how I took it. I mean, I just took it as like, hey, yeah, I guess we can't like work together this turn. But like, neither of us have a problem with what the other one's doing, and you know, friendly relations have been upkept. Yeah. Okay. So that's most of my negotiations on the first turn. One last thing though was that, well, I was like, what do I do with this Venice army? I am not gonna use it to attack Austria with, and I'm also not gonna use it to attack France with. But moving it like down to Rome, I don't know, that wouldn't accomplish anything. And just having it stand still in Venice would also not accomplish anything. But maybe that was fine. I had enough stuff going on that it was fine. Italy's not a power that's gonna be the strongest power after the first turn. They're hopefully gonna grow a bit stealthily throughout the game. But then when I read a little bit about the Lepanto, I read this, which is that the default move is actually for Venice to go to Tyrol. And it basically says like the order Venice to Tyrol is not favored in many quarters. I guess this sounds like it's not the main move, but according to this it is if you read the entire thing. Because the alternatives is to move have Venice just hold, or move Venice to Piedmont. I'm obviously not moving Venice to Piedmont because that would be an attack on France and break our agreement. But Venice hold was like what I thought was the default option. But the first is apparently too passive and actually indicates distrust in Austria. And I thought that made sense. Because what does this Venice unit do? If I'm just having it hold still, it's still right on Austria's border. Austria is probably going to move their Trieste unit out of it at some point. So having my unit here means that I'm just always threatening that I can take one of their centers at any point. Which means that maybe I should move it to Tyrol. It might look like I'm attacking Austria because on this map it's colored in. But it's not a supply center. Like, for all intents and purposes, this is a empty tile that nobody should care about, except for the fact that I can attack other more important tiles from it. It gives me the opportunity to attack Vienna, which again I was not going to do. If I was going to attack Austria, I could just take Trieste. But it does give me the opportunity to put pressure on Munich. Which I did not know if I was gonna do yet, but I felt like I could just do anyway. I saw no real downside to it. It just gives me more options. Yes, it worsens relations with Germany somewhat, for sure. But it might mean that I can do something together with France, and on the off chance that Austria was not moving in a way I was happy with, I think they would not have expected this, because I indicated nothing with Venice, meaning that they would probably assume I was holding. And if they assumed I was holding, then if they chose to attack me, they would not be like Trieste to Venice. They would be like Vienna to Tyrol and Trieste to Adriatic, or something like that. And then having a unit in Tyrol to block one of that movement would have been useful. That's my thought process anyway. So I was like, okay, I think the best option really is just to put it in Tyrol, just like my little guide tells me to do. But I chose not to tell Austria this, and that was probably a mistake. But my logic was that, hey, if I tell them I'm attacking Tyrol, they might, if they are a new player, they might be like, oh my god, that sounds like an attack on me. I'm obviously not gonna be okay with that. Meaning that they might disagree with me, worsening relations. They might be like, well, if you're taking Tyrol, I'll take Venice, which would be terrible for me. That'd just kill my game right away. So to me, telling them I was gonna go into Tyrol was a risk I was not willing to take, because in my mind I could just go into Tyrol and then hopefully explain to them why it's not an attack on them. Like, it would be not, like, obviously it wouldn't be what they wanted me to do, but it should not be seen as a breach of our agreement. Well, let's see how that worked out, because let's actually look at the first turn. Let's get rid of this one. Yeah. So here's what happened. This is what I woke up to this morning. And I'll be honest, when I first looked at this, I was ecstatic. This could not have gone much better for me. Why do I say that? Well, Austria did what I wanted them to. They went into the Balkans, away from me, meaning that they can't stab me. Yeah, not only did they not stab me last turn, they also now can't stab me this turn. And they are holding Russia and Turkey's advance. It also meant that they are in a position where they can guarantee to take Greece, which I thought that if I wrote that to them, that like, hey, that's an opportunity, they might take that. They should be happy that they should be like slightly thankful that I gave them Greece, or that I'm okay with them taking Greece, because in our negotiations, Greece was one of the dots I talked about maybe being able to hold. So if I'm just like, yeah, fine, you can take Greece, just take Greece, they might be like, okay, that's cool. I looked at France and I'm like, okay, good, France is also upholding our agreement. I think it's worth mentioning, like, I could not know for certain that that these agreements are made were gonna hold. I thought there was a decent chance I was gonna wake up, one of them had just betrayed me, which would have been fair. I can't blame them for doing that, but it would mean that I'd just be like, well, I guess this game is just almost over already. That's unfortunate. I was really excited for it, but yeah, womp womp. But that did not happen. France also held our agreement. They did not do exactly what I thought they would. I thought they would have gone Brest to Mid-Atlantic Ocean and Marseille to Spain. But this is fine, because what they did instead is go Brest to English Channel, which to me indicates that they're going against England. That is really good for me, because France is in a good position. I just gave them 2 dots for free. So while I'm working with France right now, I am worried about them becoming way stronger than me too quickly. So them going into the English Channel to me was pretty nice, because they should have made an enemy of England now. And if they are an enemy of England and an enemy of Germany, then even though England and Germany has not had a good start, they should be able to together hold back France. And they have no choice but to work together now, because France is going to get way too powerful if they don't. So that's good. England walked north. That was pretty good. Mostly again because it basically let France attack them, which hopefully means that England is gonna not be able to grow a whole lot, but they're gonna focus on containing France. Germany went away from me. They went over here, which is good for me, because it now leaves Munich open. Now, it obviously has it has a unit in Kiel and a unit in Ruhr, so it's not like it's open, but it gives me an opportunity to threaten Munich, and they are in no position to threaten me anytime soon, which I am very happy with. Russia was interesting. They went army to St. Petersburg, and my understanding is that that is an attack on Britain. That's not really necessarily good for me, because I kind of need Britain to hold back France. Yeah, and again, I want to clarify, I at this point, I'm very happy with France. I don't wish them any ill, but I just can't have them become too powerful too quickly, because then it just becomes too much of a, like, they just gain too much by attacking me. So, army, St. Petersburg, not my ideal choice. Yeah, I guess that one is not my ideal choice, but it's also so far away from me that it's gonna take a while to actually matter. Warsaw to Ukraine. This is not something I thought about right when I saw the map. It took me a couple of hours of studying the map closer, because I was mostly focused on the things that impacted me directly. But this to me basically indicated that Germany and Russia have an agreement to not attack each other. And yeah, like that, along with the fact that Germany moved all their stuff away from Russia. And that's fine. I need Germany to hold back France. I'm totally fine that Russia is not expanding in that direction. I'm also happy that Russia is not going into Galicia. Or at least that was my immediate thought, because as far as I understand, the Lepanto opener, where I attacked Turkey, requires Austria to be relatively strong. And if Warsaw went to Galicia, well, then Austria would be a lot weaker. So them going into Ukraine is fine. It's obviously the reason I think they're doing this is because they want Romania. They tried to take it this turn, and they're actually going to get it this turn. But there was a chance that Austria was going to go Budapest into Romania. Neither of them are going to get Romania, but then by going Warsaw to Ukraine, Russia can basically guarantee to get Romania next turn. Mostly guarantee. It's not literally guarantee. So it makes sense, but this is fine by me. Russia can definitely move over here. And Sevastopol to Romania, in isolation, that would not be a move I love. Because it's a move that basically indicates, hey, Turkey, I trust you. However, when Turkey is moving Ankara to Black Sea and Smyrna to Ankara, that to me indicates that they might be fighting. There is a real chance that Turkey and Russia had this planned out. It's possible. Or it's possible that they didn't really have it planned out, but they can still like negotiate to not attack each other. But the main theory that I think most players has right now is that that was an attack by Turkey against Russia. And that is huge for me, because as I said, I cannot have them work together. And this is, if they were working together, they would not do this move. It also means that if they are against each other, it's gonna be really good, because I'm gonna attack Turkey. Right? Like this is just really good for me. In so many ways. So that's amazing. I was really happy with this. Well, how has the discussion looked today? Well, so far, and I can see I have many new messages. Oh yeah, let's just look at how the map actually looks now. I have many new messages, so obviously things have probably changed since I started recording. But to me, I'm excited for this turn. Because down here south, I can do the opener I always expected. I'm gonna convoy Apu to Tunis. I hope I've done it correctly, by the way. This game is not... I've never convoyed a unit before, because this is my first time playing. And I had to click multiple armies, and I hope I pressed the things correctly. Yeah, so assuming I haven't like misclicked, this is fine. I'm gonna get Tunis, that's gonna be good. I'm gonna get my build. That's fine, and I'm gonna be in a good position to build a navy and attack Turkey next turn. But what I was most excited about was my Tyrol army. I was like, well, how am I gonna play this? Because I have not told Austria this. I haven't actually told anybody about my Tyrol plans. So it might look a bit sus. Well, this morning my talks with France was like, holy shit, great turn, right? That could not have gone much better. France, I am gonna walk into Munich. I had to write that first because I cannot have France take Munich. If France takes Munich, they would be too powerful. I would not be able to expand in that direction at all without attacking my friend. So if I just say, hey, I'm attacking Munich, I would like your help if you can give it to me. But if you can't give it to me, whatever, that's okay, but I will be expecting it next turn. That was what I wrote to France. I did that because I was also going to write to Germany, and here's where I was kind of proud of this. I was going to tell Germany, hey, I know my move into Tyrol wasn't great, but it really is just so it gave me more opportunities. I didn't know how the West was going to look, and I might have needed to put pressure on you. But yeah, I can see I've made a mistake. France have had an incredible first turn, and I should definitely have put pressure on them instead of you. That's unfortunate. I was then gonna wait a couple of hours before writing to Germany. Oh my god, Germany, France just asked me if I could support their Burgundy unit into Munich. Which, from Germany's perspective, might seem like something France might ask me to do. Germany is gonna be like, well, I kind of need to take Holland and Belgium, or at least try to, maybe. They could use both their armies to guarantee that France and me can't take Munich together, but that seems like too costly of them. They're probably going to do something else. So they might be worried that France was, with my help, going to take Munich. But I was going to tell Germany, well, France just asked me if I could help them take Munich, and I'm gonna say, and this is what I'm saying to Germany, I'm gonna say to Germany that I am saying to France that I will help them, but in reality, Germany, I will not help them. I'll just walk into Munich, which is gonna result in a bounce between the Burgundy army and the Tyrol army, and therefore neither of us gets Munich. I told Germany that I would do that I was gonna lie to France that I was gonna help them, and in reality I was gonna block France from getting Munich. I thought, and I'm hoping that this is gonna work, that Germany's gonna read that and be like, yeah, that sounds plausible enough, and I really do need their help to stop France, because if I need to spend both of my units to stop Munich, I've just lost the game. But if France bounces in Munich, well, then maybe I can guarantee myself at least Holland, if not Belgium and Holland. So Germany could so Germany might, despite the fact that I moved a unit in their direction, they might trust me enough to be like, yeah, it kind of makes sense that he might stop France. I'm gonna have to take his word for it, because I can't afford to stop, I can't afford to put units towards Munich anyway. And now my message to France earlier should be read in a different context, because what I wanted was that, hey France, I'm going into Munich, you do whatever you want with Belgium, I don't really care. I could take your support, but it's fine if you can't give it to me. I am just moving into Munich. Don't bounce me. And I'm doing that because what either France is going to support me into Munich, which would be great, I get Munich, or France is going to be like, okay, fine, I can't really support you this turn, I need to take Belgium, but, you know, yeah, whatever, you're not going to get Munich. But I am gonna get Munich, because Germany trusts that I'm bouncing France in Munich. France is not moving a unit into Munich, and now Munich is just gonna be fucking wide open. I'm just gonna be able to slide right in. Slide right in, sorry. Yeah. I don't know if that made any sense. I know I'm rambling. It would have been easier if I could show you my notes app and like the chat messages. But that's basically the plan. Like I think I have, and I don't know yet, right? This is as far as the game has gone. There's a day and a half left till the turn has to end. So maybe this is all gonna blow up in my face. But I'm really excited that I had moved the units in such a way where Germany is gonna go towards the Benelux. France is gonna go towards the Benelux and maybe London. And I'm just gonna slide right into Munich. However, France did not say, oh, I'm gonna focus on Belgium. They actually said, yeah, okay, I can actually support you into Munich, that's fine. That was less ideal because now I'm gonna have to elaborate on my lie to Germany next turn. Because that's the other smart part of my plan. My plan was that even after I slide right into Munich, I can still pretend to Germany that we're not enemies. Because I can just be like, oh shit, France outplayed me. They didn't go into Munich. They instead went towards Belgium. So I got Munich by accident. Oh no. But now I'm gonna go into Munich with French support. I can still do the same lie and be like, oh shit, I guess France sussed me out and instead gave me Munich to make us enemies. I think that might still work. I still think it's cool how this play gives me the opportunity to, despite stabbing Germany, still work with them afterwards. But we'll see how well any of that works. Because I should also mention Austria's reaction to all of this. Austria, as I said, did exactly what they did. They moved all their shit away from me. But they were probably reasonably not happy with my move into Tyrol. Now, I argued that the move into Tyrol is actually a very standard play when Austria and Italy allies. And that is true, as far as I can tell. You can ask a Diplomacy Pro if you don't believe me, but that was not actually a stab on Austria. But it is true that I did it without telling them. Now, I mentioned before why I did that. Because I did not want to tempt them into taking Venice. But I can understand that they wouldn't be happy with it, because from Austria's perspective, well, right now it looks like I can just take Vienna or Trieste. Yeah, and they got rightfully a little bit, not mad at me, but they were like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I can't trust you if you don't tell me a bit more what you do. Austria then told me this morning that they will be moving units back to defend, because while I'm still willing to work with you, I obviously can't trust you that you won't just take my free homeland. Here's how I read that. I believe Austria is not gonna do that. I think what Austria is doing with that message is telling me, you should not try to take one of my centers, because if you do, we're just gonna bounce in Vienna or Trieste anyway, right? Which, if Italy thinks that they're just gonna bounce if they try to betray Austria, that means Italy is not gonna betray Austria. And since Italy is not gonna betray Austria, that means that Austria is still gonna be able to do the moves they were gonna do anyway. For that reason, I suspect what Austria is gonna do is that they are gonna take Greece. And it's possible that this Budapest army goes back and either blocks Vienna or Trieste. Yeah, because what else is this army gonna do? I guess it might support hold in Serbia or something. That would be slightly more useful if they knew they could trust me, but I guess it's possible that they don't. But I think that Austria just kicked up a little bit of a fuss. First of all, hopefully so that I don't do moves without them telling them again, but also so that I don't think that stabbing them makes any sense. And here's the thing, I don't think stabbing them makes any sense. I would not stab Austria right now. Because if I did, I would be taking one supply center and I would make an enemy for life. an enemy who would still have a net positive of 1 supply center and be able to build a unit. So I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, I just think Austria also knows that. But they were just unhappy with me. And they are also apparently gonna use the fact that I walked into Tyrol as like a signal to the rest of the players that I'm attacking them, which might drum up support or might put a little bit of pressure on me. I think, maybe. It depends on how they use that information. But I'm kind of fine with that. I don't think France is going to betray me because Austria tells them, oh my god, Italy went into Tyrol. Because France is probably happy that I went into Tyrol. And like, Russia's not going to do anything. And I think Turkey's too preoccupied. Yeah. Anyway. So, I've rambled for so long already. I'm very sorry about that. But yeah, I am excited about this situation. I think this is a very good start for Italy. What are my main things I'm scared about? Well, it's a long game, and I am still in the middle of a lot of players. Things could go wrong. One thing I'm scared of is that France becomes too powerful. Because if France becomes too powerful without them backstabbing me, then I will not be able to stop them, because all the people I would need help to stop France with would already be dead at that point. And I do think there is a real chance right now that like England just gives up, and now France just takes London and maybe afterwards all the fucking British Isles for free. And that would be really bad for me. I'm also worried that Austria actually distrusts me now. I've tried, as I've argued about right before, that I really don't think they should. And I also think they're a good enough player to know that they shouldn't inherently distrust me. But there is a chance that they took this move into Tyrol as way more personally than I think is warranted. And then we'd be in trouble. Yeah. But this next turn is, like probably every turn in this game, gonna be very crucial. I'm really hoping that Turkey will not be building an a navy in Smyrna. Because if they don't, oh boy, I'll be in a great position. If they do, it's gonna be tougher. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. Is there more I need to say right now?